So just how was it in the days of Noah? At least in the perspective of Jesus Christ, as he's talking about it in chapter 17, the book of Luke. I mean, that's probably the most important thing to consider as you look into this here. That it's specifically his observation of these things. That's what makes it so on point. Where everybody that looks at this on the surface, it's easy to see who's done that based upon the many misquoted perspectives of these verses from their own misunderstanding that they're leaning upon. I see the majority of those of this generation that Jesus Christ is literally talking about using these verses of what he's saying to their benefit. It's almost comical, but not in a humorous sort of way. More like a miserable sort of way. At least a witness from my point of view. So, line 26 describing this last day, what it's going to be like parallel with the days of Noah. Verse 25 clarifies that his truth is going to suffer many things. He is going to be rejected by this generation at this time. Verse 23, pretty important, because everything with the sacred feminine movement is all about this rejection of the truth of Jesus Christ. See that line 23, describing who this generation is. It's that false bride. It's more than the false bride, but at least that portion of them is offering themselves and seeking to fulfill that niche from this perspective in the Bible, especially on YouTube, right? Okay, but it's really the whole mystery movement itself, but it's being played out from whatever perspective, from whatever culture, or from whatever portion of ancient history they choose to display it from. As we see, many of them are choosing Jewish traditionalism or Jewish mysticism, the Kabbalah. So, and they shall say to you, see here, see there, go not after them, nor follow them. That's so important because they are going somewhere. Okay? They're saying they're going somewhere. They're saying they're going to be lifted up. And then we compare this with Rev 12, tells us where they're going, the moon. Zach 5 clarifies that it's blackness and wickedness that's being brought there. And it's to establish some sort of base in reference to Shinar, which would be a capital of Babylon. All right, so yeah, he pretty much sees this generation right on point, I would say. You know? But I'm just continually astounded here with the reference at verse 23 with who is actually saying this, and it's that sacred feminine mystery religion false bride movement. All the same thing, really, just rolled into a mini water cultural hodgepodge. So the real clue is describing this generation in reference, the kingdom of God cometh not with observation. Well, that would pretty much nail down the eye symbolism right there. So the only thing really left to do is to realize some of the key points in line 26, and as it was in the days of Noah, so shall it be also in the days of the Son of Man. Well, here we go. Then we had 8 members of a family. Noah got into an ark and escaped some sort of catastrophe, some sort of judgment. Now we see the 8 in reference to division, that kingdom, words of Jesus Christ, half of 8, 4 and 4. We have a 44 remnant that is being symbolized, at least through what we understand with monatomic gold, as disappearing in a high arc of electricity being sent from a DC electrode, and that this is going to cause them, in essence, to transmutate, but more importantly, disappear and be saved from some sort of cataclysm. That's now. See the same reflection. So if you've not watched the monatomic gold series about the fractal and the number 44, I'd watch it. I'd watch it to really understand what this is going to convey to you. Okay, right here. So what it was like then was an arc. What it's going to be like now is an arc as well. And this number 44 is going to be understood much better if we just recap and look into something here. This will be from this book right here. And if you would like to read once again in this video, you're more than welcome to pause it, read this section. Notice it's describing the plane of Charon. We get this on situation, as we have talked about the Mam on. As I said, that's in reference to the temple of On, of which Ephraim would see himself coming through on his mother's side, being that she was the daughter of the high priest of the temple On in ancient Egypt. So this plane of Charon, in reference to this Mam On, this On is like, at least from that perspective of their Egyptian heritage, what this capital on the moon would be visualized as I said, from whatever culture they choose, because it's a hodgepodge of all of them. You see, this is Shinar in reference to a capital of Babylon. As we know, Babylon is double, both commercial and ecclesiastical. The commercial portion is here, being overseen by a portion of the ecclesiastical control, which would be that Tri-City of the elect Tri-City that we're going to talk about. But the main rule of that high hand is on the dark side of the moon. And they're just seeking to lift their own reflection, which is really the remnant from the Tri-City itself. And that would be, basically what we consider the papacy, London, and Washington, D.C. And that would be the empire of the Black Sun. We're going to talk about that more. My point is to look at this reference in this place where this gold substance, this metallic substance, is being transmutated to, lifted up to. It's called in ancient times the plane of Charon. Well, that would be the field of dreams or the field of Charon. Same thing with now that projection into our future. So just as we see Jesus Christ quoting things of the past in semblance to things of the future, well, here's the depth of it. Here's the depth of it. So the plane of Charon is in reference now to this Mam on, a blue moonbeam, if you will. All right, and there's going to be more to talk about with this blue, the little boy blue, code blue, project blue book. All of that is telling you this choice between the red and the blue pill. But I found something interesting that is going to fulfill the fractal of my warning to these people. And it's going to come from the song that Sting did, where he says, "Devil in the deep blue sea behind me. Vanish in the air, you'll never find me." Deep blue, not deep Red Sea. So it seems that Sting understood something about their own order and initiates that are considered the blues and are being told that they're the blues, but in reality it's just a huge sea of them that are going to be left behind. And they're just being used and at the same time cast away as the devils that they are, at least from their perception of them. Sting song, "Devil in the deep blue sea behind me, vanish in the air, you'll never find me." I mean, where they vanishing to? Where is this leaven rising to? This remnant of the 11. Where is it rising to? Well, it's rising to dark side of the moon, and that's what the monatomic gold fractal is going to tell you as well. So we're about to have a time outage. I am going to read this section, and then we'll move forward with what I've got. I've been trying to show you all here for a few days here. Give me a moment. The times So, in other words, talking about creating this manna, which is what the monatomic gold is, it's the very same thing that Moses was ordering the Israelites to eat round about the mount. And Moses even displays his cunning craftsmanship at creating the substance. So, here we go. In simple terms, the white powder is created by striking the metal sample under strictly controlled conditions for a predetermined time with a designated high heat from a DC electric arc. Okay, well, we know where the DC electric arc is. It's on the dark side of the moon. That's where the high heat, Revelation chapter 13, verse 13, is bringing this fire to. Now, if you imagined this being the arc electricus, and then now imagine the Jashin remnant, at least, a very small portion of them are going to be transmutated or transported, astrally projected, if you will, to this location, which we see is the moon, but in real fulfillment, as it was in the beginning, so shall it be in the end. That's that light and dark. That's that knowledge of good and evil being depicted in symbolism with the apple. Same things. So not too hard to understand. We're going to make it a little easier here. So with the designated high heat from a DC electric arc being a single directional current between two electrodes, but the truly unusual thing about the powder is that through continuous sequences of heating and cooling, this would be the reference to the church of Laodicea, being lukewarm, neither hot nor cold. As we saw, that was the path of the sun, the ingress of the sun along the ecliptic, going from hot to cold, up and down. And then, of course, you can see this is an electrical current in reference even to the sine wave. It's all right here. Fulfills the same requirements. So, through continuous sequences of heating and cooling, its weight will rise. Remember the leaven. Its weight will rise and fall to hundreds of percent above its optimum weight, down to less than absolutely nothing. That's that 0 point. Moreover, its optimum weight is actually 56% of the metal weight from which it was transmuted. So where does the other 44% go? It becomes nothing but pure white light. Now it's interesting because the 5 and the 6 is the 11. As we understand, this is the portion that is being left behind. But yet it's that portion that acted as the leaven to create the condition, the controlled condition for this psyops to work, for this deception to work, this great falling away to be promoted as the massive propaganda campaign it really is. So, as you see, a portion of them in semblance of 44% is being depicted as vanishing, disappearing, and going somewhere. Describing further, it becomes nothing but pure white light. That's that fair, that white, that hoarfrost translates into a dimension beyond the physical plane. Well, at least beyond the physical plane of the average mortal of the realm of Earth who does not have the big dollar signs or the club card membership to get to the dark side of the moon whenever your, little heart desires. Okay? So the dimension of the orbit of light, which the ancients called the plane of Charon or the field of Mist. Now that would be the field of dreams. Now you should understand that theoretically within this ancient alchemical science that has now explored an alternate dimensional realm through its understanding of this process of transmutating this gold substance from one thing to another. You should understand that this is in reference to what the ancient pharaohs of Egypt believed that they were entering into when they ingested this gold substance considered bread, the elixir of life among many other names in ancient Egypt, as it was referred here. So there is a dimensional aspect to this that is not physical that they are seeking to obtain also. All right. Almost imagine it as the spiritual realm, as they are theorizing from, entering it from the manipulation of material elements. Okay, there is truth there, but not in the spiritual realm of its actuality of the spirit world. No. Okay, not at all. But as in an alternate dimension, yes. But my point is that what has projected and manifested in this generation here is the physical location that's in semblance of this place that is on the dark side of the moon, which is now in reference to On, as in this ancient temple of On, which is all about this white brotherhood, which are in reference to these craftsmen that had the cunning to create the substance. Now, that reflection would be in the craftsmen that had the cunning to create the condition to cause what we see now as the chaos, which is going to be finalized with the high heat that finalizes the process to lift its remnant. That is, in their eyes, craftsmanship as well that's being displayed within the alchemical properties of the populace, who they deem is fit to rise and fall, if you will. It's all there, you know what I mean? It's all there. So where does the other 44% go? Well, we see the physical place that they have prepared is the dark side of the moon. But it's important because it's DC electrodes, and then that's the District of Columbia, and what you're going to find out that it's the chief controller of the electricity, whether you understand that or not. So, chapter 17, the book of Luke, as it was in the days of Noah. Well, then we had an ark. Now we have arc, electricity. We're going to break the word down to elect-tri-city. And we're talking about an elect remnant, right? The special elect remnant. What I'm trying to tell you is that this club is platinum gold card status member only. Many of you guys from this YouTube thing really that might think you're a part of all this and all hunky-dory. I'm telling you guys, you're not. You're not. This is the remnant here. It's coming out of the electricity. Everything will tell you that. Everything with real spirit eyes will tell you that. It's not coming. I mean, think about London, the little district of London that is forming this empire of the city. Research what empire of the city is. Its alternate name is the Empire of the Black Sun. As I said, they reject the real sun in favor of a dark and shadowy other one. So you have London, little small place within London, considered the financial district. You have basically the papacy, the Roman facade of their mysticism that is draped in the sacred feminine of the adoration of Mary, the Virgin, over Christ, as you should understand. And then we have the District of Columbia for the third member, which we see being manifested here in the U.S., of which Ephraim has created. Okay, 13th tribe of Israel, Ephraim, Egyptian descendancy, founder of the 13 colonies of the United States. We see that the capital, so to say, of the United States, so to say, is the District of Columbia. But in all reality, it is the capital of the world. It's the capital of the worldly world, and it's being ruled by, once again, a militant king, as all ancient Babylonian kingdoms have been ruled in the past. All kings have been militant, military in might. Everything is done with force. It's the very same kingdom now. District of Columbia, little small area in Virginia, between Maryland and Virginia. That's the electricity. As I said, you saw that being referenced in the movie Gangs of New York, that only a small portion of the most prestigious of the blues was being shown coming out of that fallen down, abandoned White House. In other words, D.C., the District of Columbia. Okay? I think we're about to have not a time outage, but a volume outage at the 10-second mark of the 20-minute mark. So give me a moment. Okay, so you guys should be familiar. You've been following the channel. If not, I think you realize now you should. And I think you understand what's going on, and many of you are a part of what's going on. And a few of you are sincere. Awesome. Awesome. All right. So only 8 saved then. Noah's family, including himself, 8 members. Okay? That's then. How does that jive now? Well, you saw 44%. Even in the gold, that's the percentage that's being lifted up. We saw this in reference to the hemispheres of the brain. Now, in reflection of sacred geometry, only 1/4 is seeking to reflect the other portion of itself. As I said, that's that electricity that is here that is creating these special conditions and then fooling everyone else in the deep blue sea that they're actually going somewhere, but yet they consider you a devil. And that's going to be this mixed ethnicity that they've been working with, and everybody else that they consider not privileged enough to be in their special club. So, they're seeing everybody else's leaven, to tell you the truth, when they themselves are the leaven, but then they're going to see everybody else's leaven. They're certainly not going to let a little leaven spoil their bun, are they? But they're certainly going to use you to get what they want done, as they always have. That's how they got where they are in the first place. They use people. And then everybody that works with them is, fulfilling that same reflection. They're used and abused and betrayed so often that it's hard for me to even imagine that they're able to lay their heads down at night and sleep soundly. I most certainly do. I know that everyone else here that's sincere does, but I find it real hard to believe that these people can actually tell themselves at night that they're doing the work of the true one and living God. So anyway, only 8 saved then. Now, Jesus says the kingdom is divided. If we divide the 8, 4 and 4, we know that one of the 4s is rejecting the other portion. It doesn't have symmetry. And it's a lover of itself. We're going to see this in the term as above, so too below, as being the mirror equivalent of everything we're talking about. And we're going to explore that as we move forward in the series here. We've got a whole bunch more stuff to show you. You've seen nothing yet, and I mean that. So we get the mirror now in reference, as you've learned, with only the one eye making 2 right eyes, which is in essence creating the 2 left brains, the symmetry with a left brain and another left brain. As you know, that's the illusion of them feeling like they're whole. We're going to explain that better. Okay, all that's in reference to sacred geometry, staring in a mirror with only one eye. The left one has now your left eye as the right eye staring back at you. Your brain hasn't gone anywhere, only your mind. All right, let's look at the diagram of basically putting this monatomic gold thing in perspective of the rapture thing, which really is in perspective of destruction and judgment that can be viewed better from the vision of a prophet seer Isaiah chapter 34. Talks about it as a blood sacrifice. Okay, rapture doesn't sound like too beautiful of a thing now, does it? Okay, because the people that are being lifted up from this thing are all aware of what this is all about. They want this fire. They want this destruction. They want people destroyed. They're not afraid to say it. They're, it's crazy. So Isaiah 34 will explain better what Revelation chapter 13 verse 13 is all about, as we're going to see. So this little model here is crude, but it does show you the perspective of the moon. It even shows you the correct perspective of the tilt of the earth in reference to the moon. And then it's going to show us this stylized blast that's coming from the dark side of the moon. Revelation chapter 13 verse 13 clarifies it as a fire from the sky. It's in every movie, it's in every ad, it's in everything. Fire, 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 and more fire. Everybody is chanting fire. Well, they're going to get it. They're going to get it. Every action has a equal yet opposite reaction. You're going to get it. You're going to get your fire. You want fire so bad you think it's the way to cleanse and to purify. Well, guess what? Jesus Christ said your rags are filthy. And if that's how you see you need to be purified and cleansed, well, and that's what you think everybody else has got to go through. Well, if this is one body, right? And, that's what you're dishing out to everybody else. Well, it must be good enough to dish back out to yourself, right? Well, fire is coming your way. Ain't no doubt about it. So there would be our arc electricity that is being sent as a blast towards the moon. Now, here's something that's pretty neat. We get the tilt of the Earth at a 23 degree plus in its axis, meaning it's at about 23.5 in between zero point 0.5 and zero point 0.8. Okay? But that's a real no concern to us right now. We know that it's moving. And this is going to be in reference to the pole shift that we were talking about, to where looking into that mirror, seeing that as above, so too below, in reference to the vanity of themselves, is causing the shift, the polarity of their mind to go to this materially darkened, blind refuge of what they think is a spiritual thing. Okay? A spiritual act that they're doing. Okay, it's not, but we see that it's polarizing their viewpoint, their observation, and their mentality, their mind to that materially darkened thing. And that's what you're seeing. We've showed you that's what's happening. And then now you see it even in the tilt of the Earth is giving us that same magnetism. Okay, they're being pulled over to that direction. It's literally showing you the full manifestation of what I said with that mirror, to where the left eye becomes the right, and then by default the mind has followed the observer's eye, which has put them now not in the right hemisphere of the brain, way out in left field, which would be the left hemisphere of the brain, which you see by these angles, and then now by the tilted axis of the Earth. It's showing you that. It's proving that to be real. What the Spirit is proven to be shown as real here. So let's just go ahead and add the 23 degree tilt, because there's going to be a significance here with this number that is relative to this generation now, in reference to an 8-member family that thinks it's going to be saved from some sort of destruction based upon its knowledge of this boat, so to say, this duet, if you will. Incidentally here, we're just going to add up the 23 as the prime numbers for the variables here. We got an 8-member family, thinks it's going to be saved, and then it's in reference to genetics, which is the 23 enigma. If it's a special family, that's a special remnant, that's a special elect. In reference to the blue bloods, 23. It's all right there, right? We know that it's now really showing you that people have been knocked silly, and they're about to commit mass murder on a global scale and require blood once again where it's not needed, but because they think that it is, what goes around comes around, their own blood is going to be required of this act. So 23 plus 8 does what for us? Well, it creates 31. And 31, 3 plus 1 is 4. And as I said, they are seeking to get rid of the other 4, only see themselves as the singular 4, which is that singular I that we originally started talking about, that is only seeking to reflect the illusion of itself. Well, what is the illusion of itself? Well, it's that empire of the city, the empire of the black sun, which is here, which is in reference the real ruler of this illusionary world that they've created, this reality, this matrix. Okay, but in essence, they're the facade of it. They're the veil. They're the shell of it, because the real rule of this empire of the city, or the empire of the black sun, is on the dark side of the moon. And that's why we see they're only seeking to create symmetry with their own reflection here on Earth, as above, so too below. So if it's the empire of the city there on the dark side of the moon, well, it's only going to be the empire of the city here right, we lost a little something there. I said it's showing you here about this as above, so too below. If it's an empire of the black sun that is ruling on this dark side of the moon, okay, that's where they really have been ruling from, okay, for a great while, off and on. This has been used as a strategic ruling vantage point, all right? Nonetheless, this empire of the black sun has a illusion of itself here, a reflection of itself, as above, so too below, okay? That's that empire of the city known as DC, the Vatican, and London. And then we see that those three are united as the empire of the city. Well, that is their veil that they have here. But the real roots of this rule is that city that is on the moon, that they're only reflecting a portion of themselves down here. That's the only portion of themselves that they're seeking to lift up. And that's what the word electricity is going to reveal to you. All right, we're going to get into that. My point is to have you retain that singular four aspect. And then when we go ahead and add it up, the prime numbers, at least in the variable aspect of what we're talking about, 23, okay, the sacred feminine, tilt to the earth, okay, and then with the 8 plus 23 is 31. That's a 4. That's a singular 4. 8's the number for Enki. 23 is the number for the fertility, for the rabbit, the genes, that special family, okay, and then 3 plus 1, 31 is 4. All over again, same thing. All right. Revelation chapter 13, verse 13. Anybody ever thought about that? I'm sure you've probably heard me say it before if you've been listening to the series. 1 plus 3 is 4. 1 plus 3 is 4. 44. That's that fire from the sky right there, the 44. You know, this isn't a Bible, but it seems that the fractal does fulfill when you can correctly divide the word. Okay? So, you know, it's important because this Noah is an anagram at the same time. It's an anagram for the word one, which, as I said, we see that continually over and over through this division, even its own choice of division, we're going to see this being displayed in a cellular manner with mitosis shortly. But once again, comes back down to a singular 4, which I said is in reference to that singular hemisphere of the brain, which sees the world backwards in a limited four-dimensional scale, in which they've been tricked in believing they're seeing the world correctly in a spiritually divine way. But how could they, you know, if they're looking with one eye in the mirror at themselves as the reflection or image of God? Incredible. God's not a murderer, that's for sure. So I don't know what God these people think that they're reflecting anything other than the murderer, as Jesus Christ already clarified. Their father is the murderer. Now I'm speaking about people that are doing this. I'm speaking about people that have knowledge of this and are seeking to gain something with this wicked plan that has been prophesied for thousands of years of this is exactly what they were going to do, but somehow they've convinced everyone through propaganda that Jesus wasn't real and that Christianity is the Vatican and that it's all corrupt and nobody could see through that it was their whole plan the entire time to create and distort a religious atmosphere condition that would reflect their agenda to destroy the validity of the truth of Jesus Christ. That's exactly what they're doing. And they're seeking to follow it to the T, if you will. So, you know, there you go. As it was in the days of Noah, everything now in the perspective of even the prophecy as it's told to us in reference to the scriptures that it's about. Notice how the stairs are very difficult to ascend once again, you know. Not the easy way for sure. Only those of the mystery of the special select and elect have the power and authority, the mammon, to climb that stairway. So it's in reference to the Jashin. We saw that being displayed in another term with the jack-in. And this is where we got Jack be nimble, Jack be quick from that song Bye Bye Miss American Pie. Jack flash set on the candlestick. Well, that's exactly how the monatomic gold transmutates in a brilliant flash of light. And as you can see with this Revelation chapter 13, verse 13, same thing. You know, that's all being displayed, their imitation, if you will, of that great falling star in the beginning. As it was in the beginning, so shall it be in the end. But we're talking about the beginning of sin. That's everything that they're replicating, as above, so too below. So they're not replicating the glory or the truth of the actuality of the beginning, only the beginning, once again, of sin, all over again. It's the same thing. Same thing. So the jack-in, you know, that's interesting because that brings us about that eye of the needle and the camel to the sex act, the covetousness for the 23, which is the genetics, which is the semen. And then if we're talking about special genetics being lifted out of a sea of people, and then you get the term semen for sperm, you know? So who are the special semen of this abyss, these mingled waters that are going to be selected and elected? Well, the word electricity would tell you. Those of the empire of the city, of the special trinity of DC, London, and the Vatican, which are very, very small places that are incredibly rich, are they not? They bankrupt everybody that is affiliated and connected and around them, and now they contain the world's wealth, and as you see, they have managed to buy their way to heaven whilst tricking the entire world to become idol shepherds to fulfill their agenda, and then they're going to leave you behind. Unreal. Unreal. So I'm sure there was much more I should have said with all this and all this, how it comes together. So if we got mirror on the wall, you guys should be pretty familiar with Mam on, and then Babylon, Babel on, new capital of Babylon, we would have Babel on, Mam on. It just goes over and over and over again. Share on, same thing. So we got mirror on the wall, okay, as above, so too below. As I said, what they're reflecting is the illusion all over again, which is the reversed reflection of themselves staring in the mirror. If that reflection is projected the material matrix known as commercial Babylon, well, it is above that same reflection as the illusion once again, right there. And as I said, it's matter, so it doesn't matter which way you turn the M in the mirror. It's the same old BS that we got all of this from originally, which is that supposed luxury of this pleasurous lifestyle that we see there really sought to condemn everyone else for, when in all actuality it's the product of their whole dream in the first place. You know, there's nothing wrong with you know, living upright. You know, there's nothing wrong with having what you need and having good provisions, but there is something wrong when you're having all this at the expense and sufferation of others. Okay? There's something wrong with it. And if you're doing this on a global scale, well, what's wrong with it is going to come back to you on a global scale. Call it a prophecy, if you will. Call it a prophecy. So there would be your Boaz, the moon. There's your Jashin, the arc electricus. You know, put that in perspective. 69, you know, as above, so too below. That's basically your yin and your yang symbol. Somebody made a comment earlier from another video that something to do with the G is also the 6 and the 9, symbolism of Freemasonry. You can kind of see that. All right, so let's go over here and then see if we can close this video out. About to have a volume outage at the 30-second mark. So give me a moment. I'm just going to wait here. Noah, anagram 1. Noah divided 8, 4, and 4. So, you know, based upon the equational direction of travel, the consistent truths that have not let us down from whichever angle we view them, doesn't matter, we're still looking at the same thing. Nothing about it has changed, just we see its manifestation readily available in anything we look at. And who's that all due to? Not due to me, not one bit. It's due to Jesus Christ and to all of his spirit emissaries that have worked within and around this world for untold millennia to bring all of this about in a way that whoever searched for it would find it. And that's been really the only criteria. That's been the only thing that you've been asked. That you've got to do it with your own will. As you see these men, these blind men, they're doing things with their own will. So if the obsession for wealth, power, evil can do all this for these people throughout all these ages, what do you think just a little faith in the truth of the power and the glory Jesus Christ can do for you? Well, it can outweigh every bit of this badness that has ever been formed by their dirty hands. Every bit of it. Every bit of it. And it will do it in the scales of truth, justice, and mercy. Not force. Not self-righteousness. Still maintaining throughout it all equality and fairness for all. If you don't have short sight. So we come on down here to kind of looking at the word Noah, anagram for one. Noah, 8-member family, divided. Jesus Christ says, in this time, Satan's kingdom shall be divided. We find out that it's actually divided over and over and over again with their quantum division, if you will. So that would be the enter the mirror. We get the one eye now of the four because the other's rejected. You know that in reference to the hemispheres of the brain. And give me a second. Okay, there's where we got the material discernment portion of the brain. And as I said, it doesn't matter which way you flip this matter, it's still the same old matter. All right. And then we get only the one-eyed double here. And then you can see the reference to Ephraim having 2 pasture lands. Okay, because one pasture here is on the dark side of the moon. The other pasture here is on the earth. Okay, that they're seeking to darken for 3 days, so to say, at least symbolically with Scripture. Once again, uniting the darkness with the darkness. Being that the eye is doubled, very important because Ephraim's the 13th tribe of Israel. If it's Revelation chapter 13, verse 13, we'd have a 13 here and a 13 here. And then if this is 1 plus 3 is 4, 1 plus 3 is 4, we'd have a 4 here and a 4 here. But we know that it's not the other 4, that it's the same 4. That's just the illusion of itself that's being reflected. And that's where I told you who it is. It's the empire of the city, which is the elect of this elect tri-city, which is in reference now to this transmutation of this most prestigious, the most worldly and wealthy in semblance of gold and silver. All as Jesus Christ is correctly foretold. Absolutely incredible. So, you've heard that expression, one ring to rule them all. One ring to rule them all. There's going to be more to this, but there's going to be something relative here. From the Lord of the Rings series, right? Well, Ephraim is going to be this one ring to rule them all. And we're going to understand this with the Oroboros, because this is really where the Oroboros is taking place. It's going to shock the pants off you. Oroboros is that serpent that's eating his own tail. And as I said, it's not two serpents like they show you with the rod of Hermes. Okay, it's only one serpent. As I said, it's this 1-4. Out of the mouth of the eater shall come forth meat. We're going to find out that he's been feeding on his own self periodically. And as I said, that's that judgment. The refuge has been on the moon. That's the Oroboros cycle. What do we learn about New York City? The 5 Points District is called the 5 Boroughs. You say the word Oroboros, or more importantly, in its spelling, it's basically saying our boroughs. Oroboros, our boroughs. Our asses, and as you see, that is the Oroboros cycle, which is in reference now to the 69, which is a sexual act that is usually done through an oral procedure, usually in reference to eating someone out. And as we see, out of the mouth of the eater shall come forth meat. That's going to shock the pants off you. Basically, I told it to you, but wait till I show it to you and really show you what it's all about. So that's how Ephraim becomes the one ring to rule them all. And then let's show you the fractal. Well, if Noah, being that it's an 8-member family, really is an anagram for one, we see this one ring to rule them all in reference now to the fractal with the singular 4, dividing the knowledge, rejecting one portion of it, only reflecting the other side, which is the illusion. Now we take the 8, go ahead and lay it on its side, okay, because this is the kingdom fallen, is it not? Divide it, just like you divide the 4, guess what? End up with the circle. End up with a ring. End up with a single ring, not a double ring, not a double 4. End up with the 0 point, which is what the rising is all about, which is what the special conditions are all about. It's what creates the levitation. It's where this fire trigger moment would be in reference to what their hopes is to be lifted up from. So there's your one ring to rule them all. That's how Ephraim's going to be this singular ring. And now all you got to do is add the pupil for the singular pupil of darkness that is sought to rule this whole thing, and that would be the fallen prince, now seeded into the singular cell. And it's pretty much going to come together when we find out who the son of the sun is, now with that one ring, that one singular cell to rule them all. Take a good look at that supposed sun disk, and I'd like you to realize that that is really assemblage of an egg being cradled in a boat or a basket. That's the bun in the oven. That's the singular cell. That's the son of the sun god, the darkened right eye, Horus. And we see Ephraim basically has created the prime condition to implant that original sinner, the pupil of darkness, to reach this fruition of the rotten fruit. Just as it says in the book of Enoch, until the consummation of their crimes come to the full. And as we can see, it most certainly is at that point. So now let's go ahead and look here at something. The word electricity, break it down, elect tri-city. In other words, it's telling you the elect of the tri-city. Who's the tri-city? Well, it's the Empire of the City, or the Empire of the Black Sun, which I said is DC, Vatican, and London. Many of you are familiar with that. You can research that. They've got their own constitution. They pay taxes to no one. They've got their own special laws. That is the representation of the seat of authority that is really being ruled from this location here. And this is the illusion of itself, reflecting once again only itself. So, pretty interesting here, because you can see how Ephraim has inadvertently made itself a 99. It wants to be the one. it wants to be the one, but not necessarily the one it's seeking to bring in. It's being the ring for the one that it's trying to wrap around the one's finger. Just like in that song from Sting, I'll be wrapped around your finger. Okay? So Ephraim is now becoming the ring to rule them all, but by being the ring that's wrapped around the Dark Prince's finger. And so, in essence, the Dark Prince would grant them that privilege of being the ruling class over the world, grant them the dominion that we see that they're hoping for. That's what they've been working at for so long, tricking their own kind even to thinking they're not working for any god at all but themselves as gods, when in all reality they actually are working for a god. And it's the wrong god the whole time. But, he's pretty much a pretty good tempter, I guess, and so many people fall for it. So that's your ring, if you will. Ephraim's not trying to become the one, he's trying to become the ring around the finger of the one, which is that fallen Dark Prince. So it's weird because Ephraim now inadvertently makes himself the 99. You've got to understand this, how you divide a square, half of 90 for the right angle. That's that 4 that we came up with right there. Now we have two ways to see this. At a 23-degree tilt, all right, we can see this at a 52-degree tilt. In reference to the number of Thoth, there's a fractal that opens up, reveals the same thing. But we've looked at it in reference to the 23-degree tilt in the axis of the Earth, which is basically revealed the Earth being knocked up in the past, the Enoch-y, and it's in reference to the birth of the Nephilim. Oops, I knocked up the daughters of men. Well, we would now reference that into a cube because we're dealing with a singular 4-dimension. Half of the cube in reference to the 90, half of 90 is 45. All right, and then we have the illusion of the other 45 over here. 4 plus 5 is 9. 4 plus 5, mirror of the self once again. That's the 69. As above, so too below. You get 99%, which is unreal because Ephraim has fought so hard to make himself appear as the one, but yet really working for the one, now becoming the 0, which in all reality, it becomes nothing. He's going to become nothing because, as it says, their God shall cast them off. And then that's what non-existence is all about. 0, nothing, the sum total of no thing. The empty set, of which, they've tried to subscribe to Jesus Christ. So now we see Ephraim turns himself into that 99% that he's seeking to make everyone else. As I said, they got them to chant that in downtown New York. We are the 99%. We are the 99%. Which is unreal because Jesus Christ's parable says that he will leave the 99% to go find that one that's lost. And it's almost like Ephraim's own contorted philosophy, at least by the devil's standards of his observation of this matter, has fulfilled Ephraim as the 99% to almost get Jesus Christ to leave them alone in a way. You know what I mean? But what the real neat thing is who becomes the one. Because if Jesus Christ is going to leave the 99, they would have you believe that Jesus is saying, I'll leave all these people for these one special one. And what Jesus Christ is really saying is the one special one that I'm leaving the 99 for is that one body of Christ. The one body that's whole, that is not divided, that does not have a singular eye, that's not following a blind and darkened God. That's the one body of Christ that I will leave the 99 to go and find. That's incredible. So who is number one, as I asked you earlier in this series? Well, it's the body of Christ. We're number one. We are the one body, the one truth of Christ that will have the fulfillment of the ring of promise of eternity, not in material affairs, but in spiritual.